Welcome to Abbotsbury, Chesil Beach, for a slightly different Spooligan session. As the thumbnail suggests, it's going to be a slightly different way of approaching things today. Having had two recent sessions where small tactics, small baits have got me fish. So today we're going to try and carry on with that theme. We'll also introduce an experimental bait to see if things work, to ask questions of what we accept as the norm. So let's get set up, let's get out there, and I'll get back to you shortly.
Here we are. I'm back, slightly out of breath, but back on the beach, back filming. I've had a busy few weeks of late with work and so on, so I haven't had a chance to film with Craig or Carl or Lee, but I've headed down to Chesil Beach today with Craig. Just got to the mark about 45 minutes ago, got myself set up, and I've just got my first rod out. First rod being my new Achios Air Power Surf. I've had this rod for a while now, and been meaning to get out with it down the North Channel with Lee, but that just haven't materialised with me being so busy. I've decided to go out with one of them rigs I hate making, the 3-hook flapper. So you've probably guessed it, I've gone for the VMO Bookies rig, the 3-hook clip down. The top hook I've gone with blacks, middle hook blacks, and the bottom hook I've gone with peeler crab. I've gone about 40-50 yards out. See if we can pick up a few little species, maybe some pouting and whiting and such. I can maybe put out for a bigger fish later on then. I know the tide is later this evening. We arrived here probably 11 o'clock, somewhere on there. Cup of coffee and a bacon sandwich, and then the long walk left. But yeah, we're here today, gonna do a video. I know Craig's got some tactics he wants to run through with you, carp fishing tactics that we've talked about, some rig ideas that I put his way, but yeah, it's looking good, and I think I've just had my first bite, so looks like I gotta go. I shall bring you back when I know what it is. Here we go. Done me.
As I briefly touched on that intro about a different way of doing things today, two recent sessions I've had decent fish on what would normally be classed as scratching rigs, so very small hooks, very small baits, and I've had decent fish. So it's got me, it got me thinking, maybe there's a different way of doing this, and there's something to be learned from other fishing disciplines. So I looked at different ones, carp, fly, different stuff, and the carp fishermen seem to have something. I think they're onto something. They're catching 50, 60, 70 pound fish on tiny hooks with small baits. So it got me thinking, how could that translate across sea fishing? So today I'm going with smaller hooks, but not smaller hooks as in traditional scratching. The hooks themselves, the gauge of the hook is a lot stronger, my line is heavier, so if I do manage to hook into something tidy, there's a better chance of me actually landing it on the beach. So I've made myself a specific box of rigs for today. Now I've pinched some stuff, or lent some stuff should I say, from the carp fishing world. Now John himself is an international level carp angler. Me personally, I haven't carp fished for 20 plus years, so my knowledge is very limited. So what I've done is sort of hybrid a rig from what carp anglers know as a spinner rig. The hookup rate on a spinner rig apparently is very good. So I've applied that across to some sea fishing rigs, so sort of a loop rig and the traditional dongle, where the bait is on a spinning, on a swivel as such, so that circle hook can spin and hopefully hook up better. I've also taken that further with bait. So I've made some sea fishing boilies, and they're not traditional circular ones. These are a prototype roller that I've made quickly and put together some different flavours just to see if the tactic can be pushed to that extreme. Whether it works or not, I don't know. Whether coming to Chesil in early spring is really the place to test it, but we're here, we're having a go. It's fresh air. All we can do is try. So we'll get set up, get some of these rigs and baits put together, and I'll show you those. So let's get going and bring you back shortly. So the rig that I've hybridized from the sort of Carp spinner rig, basically hook snood down to swivel, little split ring to circle on a dongle with a diesel, and the specially rolled sea slug stroke sea fishing boilie as I've called it. So this is just a prototype. Whether I've got the bait size versus hook size correct, I don't know. This is purely experimental. So I've done 3 different flavors. If this works, I'm happily share the recipe with everybody. It's not any great secret or anything I'm trying to sell anyone. This is just purely my own inquisitive mind trying out some different things, questioning the norm, and this is how, unfortunately, how my mind works. So yeah, let's get cast like this out. I may have to cut some of these down because the sort of bait hook ratio is wrong, but let's just experiment throughout the day. Let's see. They absolutely stink. I used the Holy Mackerel range of oils on these to flavour them up. I did 3 different flavours, so I have red predator, mackerel squid, and sea angler. The main components of the boilie is halibut, krill, and bits and bobs in there. So let's see how we get on. Let's through a few different casts, let's tailor the size and see how they cast and what have you, and see how we get on.
So that's the first big rod out. I've gone for 7-foot pulley with anchovy squid wrap, just to see if there's any of the bigger fish out there. As you know, I've got my scratcher rod out. Missed the first bite. Unsure if it was tide pull or a bit of weed, but struck into nothing, reeled nothing in. So that's gone back out anyway on the 3-hook clip down, and my first big rod's out, like I said. So I got a question for you all. With this being small baits session for Craig, and he's testing a lot of boilies, which leads us into carp fishing, which is what we've been talking about of late, me and Craig, and maybe bringing some products out for that. Back about 25 years ago, when I was carp fishing with a couple of my good friends down at Oxfordshire on the Linear Fisheries Complex, a friend of mine, there was 4 of us there, and a friend of mine, an older gentleman at the time, he wasn't catching. All the rest of us around him were catching fish up to 20-25 pound. So we decided to help him out. So this is the question. Another friend gave him the rig. Another friend gave him the bait. Myself, I cast him out because it was at quite a distance and he couldn't reach there to some showing fish. As we sat and waited for about an hour, 2 hours, he finally gets the run he's all been waiting for. I run over, I strike it, I hook it, I reel it in for around 40 yards. Then I give him the rod because he was actually asleep in his bivvy. He got his rod, he reeled it in for the last 20 yards. When we netted it and landed it, it was one of the named fish called Starburst from St John's on the Linear Complex. He now, after all these years, is still classing it as his UK Mirror Carp PB. Me personally, I don't think it's anybody's fish, and definitely not a PB for someone. So what do you think? I'd like to get to the bottom of this once and for all, because this has haunted me now for over 25 years. Every time I see my mates from back then, we always have a laugh, a joke, and we always talk about it, and there's always a massive debate. So let's try and settle that once and for all today on this video. I'm asking you guys just to comment below with PB, no PB, what you talking about, don't talk rubbish, whatever you want to comment. Let's get to the bottom of this. And I think this time next week I'm going to look at the comments, count them all up, everybody's difference of opinions, and give myself that answer once and for all, so I can put this to bed. But the funny thing about it is the gentleman who's classing it has his PB, has a picture of that fish with the rig he caught it on, blown up in his living room above his settee, and it's been there for over 25 years. Is he delusional? Is he correct? I know what my opinion is, and I've had it from day one. I'd like to know what yours is. On the fishing front here, nothing as yet. We have been doing some filming of different things, looking at some new products, talking about some new ideas. It is a bit blowy at the moment, but we know that the wind is dying down later on towards high water, so hopefully after this rough day, colour the water and bring some fish in. But I have got one in close on the 3-hook clip down and one out long on the long pulley. I'm going to get my third rod and my second big rod ready shortly, and maybe put that out on a whole mackerel or half a mackerel just close in, see if there's any bass or even conger eels close. Because you know, if you follow social media and you follow Chesil Beach, you know that in close can produce them big eels and big bass. I'm just praying that today could be the day for me. Craig hasn't had anything as yet. I think he's on his second or third cast. He's only had the 2 big rods out at the moment with the small baits, the boilies, the small hooks. No bites as yet, but I'm pretty confident, having seen what he's done and how he's made them and what he's made them of, it's going to catch a fish. Unsure what one, and to be honest, don't care what one. It's just one of those things that we've thought of, more so Craig, if I'm honest, and he's putting into practice today. So let's hope by the end of this video you see a fish caught on what's known as the Spooligan Sea Slug. Sea fishing boilie. Here we go. Just had my first bite on the big rods. Sandy eel and squid never lets me down. The culprit, this beautiful pouting. Look at that. Lovely fish. Unfortunately for this one, it's going to be filleted and put back out the dark for one of them big eels that patrol along close in on this coastline. Craig's putting his other cast out now. Haven't had anything as yet. The wind is dying down, so that's good news.
So you see the 3 different types of sea boilies that I've made. I got mackerel and squid, sea angler and red predator. Word of warning, if you're making these and the wife doesn't know you're making it in the kitchen, be careful, because it tends to dye the sink red when you wash everything out. So just a word of warning. Yep, just the first ever go at doing it. Size wise, I don't know if they're right. Let's you know, cast a few out, see how they fare. They seem to be casting right. I have got a casting cam with me today, so one of the casts today, I'll film it and see it, how it goes through the air, and see whether I need to change the shape, the size, hook, pattern, whatever. But yeah, let's see how we get on. So rather than each time me show you or talk through every bait that I use, I'll just put small clips in of just how small I'm scaling the tactic down. So on that spinner rig, just a small section of bluey, put it next to the sea dressers so you can scale. Yep. Nice, small, just see how it goes. I mean, if those 2 sessions previously when I had decent fish on tiny baits, there's anything to go by. Let's see how we get on. Okay, next bait to go out on a modified double dongle loop rig. So it's using the spinner rig tactics on a loop rig, but with 2 dongles, and the hook length that connects the hook to the body is 100-pound braid, and then just a mono body for that. So that's going to go on my 3rd rod of my bass rod in close, and all I've done is cut the sea boilies down into smaller sections, because I think from the size of hooks that I'm running today, my boilies might be slightly big for this rig, so I've trimmed them down. So yeah, let's drop this one in short, 50-60 yards. Let's see how we get on. Okay, here's the next one, a little micro pulley, I think size 1 cedar octopus, and Varivas chinu 1.0. So again, tiny little baits. See if it can't provoke a bite from any fish, to be honest.
Cracking second bite, even slackline me, anchovy and squid. Disappointing result, if I'm honest. Yep, you've probably guessed it, these little beasts are in. I'm hoping that this is the one and only, to be fair, but I'm gonna sling it back, get the rods back out, because the fish may have turned up. So now it's time to stay focused, stay positive, and keep going, and get down to some serious business. So rods back out. So quick update from me, no bites other than the pouting and them couple of dogfish. I have now just filleted that pouting I caught earlier, and this is one of the baits I've got from it, inside out pouting. I'm going to put that now 30-40 yards out, and hopefully tempt one of those big eels. The wind has calmed right down now, sun's gone in and darkness is drawing in. So we all know when you fish Chesil, darkness is the key. So, you know, fingers crossed it's going to turn the fish on for us. But we've just had a crow close in, eating the leftovers of that pouting, and he was really enjoying himself. So let's hope one of them fish out there do the same as that crow. But it's time for me to go and get this rod out. I have got some extra fillets there if things do kick off, Got a few nice pieces out that pouting, to be fair. So fresh is best, as they say. Let's get it out there.
Okay, still going with my small carp tactics, small hooks, small baits. Not really working for me. Not that the fishing's electric by any means, but John's had the 2 fish. I've had 1 bite and a plastic bag. It was on the Boilie rod as well. I was getting sort of movement in the rod tip. I was getting very excited, and it was a plastic bag. So we won't class that as a success or a catch by any means. So the bag's in the rubbish bag, and I'll take that back to the car park afterwards. But at the moment, my tactics are not working, my experiment's not working, and the prototype bait's not working. But I'm trying. I'm scratching an itch, as they say, in terms of answering questions on different ideas, whether they work or not. Is 1 session enough to determine whether an idea works or not? Probably not. I will reuse the boilies for another session and see if I can't possibly get a fish on them. Possibly something in it. Is it work today? Clearly not. So light's fading, so fingers crossed now it gets dark, we'll hopefully get some sort of fish, and at least the long journey today hasn't been fruitless. So let's keep going, let's have a coffee, because that always helps, and see if we can't get some in. Well, we got there eventually. Not on the boilies, unfortunately, but on the little spinner rig. The good old doggy saving the day. That's squid and blacks on a tiny little spinner rig, so that you can see that rig is just spinning. So we got there. Happy days. Let's see if I can't get one on the boilie as well. Now that my tactics seem to be dialed in, let's see if I can get some in on the boilie. Right, so that rig that I just had the dogfish on, same rig. This time I've trimmed down one of the boilies into a more sort of mouthable shape that relates to that size of the hook. Drenched it in the mac and squid holy mackerel. So fingers crossed, get that one out there. You never know, it might work. Well, we're now 7:15. High water I think is 1940, but the fishing's not great. I mean, it is early spring on Chesil, appreciate that. My little test, moderate success. I got a fish on the small spinner rig, but no, that could have been on any rig. So was today a fair trial? Probably not, but it's been a good sesh, good to experiment. Nice day out with John. Weather's been okay. Wind has dropped as forecasted, so that's turned out well. But first Chesil session of the year. We didn't blank, which is good. Always a good not to blank. But onward to the next one. I think I'll try the boilies again on another session. Maybe West Wales or Bristol Channel, something like that. Just somewhere, just to give it a fair trial to see if it's a worthwhile bait to sort of pursue, or whether just draw a line under it as a little experiment, and as much as that. But it's been enjoyable. I think I will keep up with the small tactics alongside my traditional stuff, your sort of 4Os and anything bigger than that. I still want my double figure eel, so it would be fun to have it on the small rigs on the bass rod. That would be great. That one off green light, which my own mistake, I dragged it up onto the rocks and it escaped into a crevice, but we'll get there. So until the next one, let's call this the outro, and thank you very much. Cheers.